I know that we will have some others roll in, but I think this is a good time to start. So I'm Deborah Kent. I'm COO on the American Caribbean Chamber of Commerce here in Houston. We are Fort Bend focused, and our Sip and Chat series this evening is on anti-racism and how to affect it and project it as a person of influence in the community. And so our moderator this evening is Ty Jones, and she is our communications director. So I'm going to hand things over, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Deborah. I'm so excited about this conversation. And thank you, ladies, for, coming on and being a part of the panel, and everyone that's listening in, because this is a much needed topic to talk about, and it's not going away anytime soon. And so it's like, how do we keep the conversation going and get, others involved to push the movement and for them to understand that this has affected Black people for generations and generations, and in 2020, it's still happening. And anyone can, answer. Well, first, I'm sorry, let's introduce everyone. I got excited, sorry. So first, let's introduce Carmen Turner, candidate for Fort Bend tax assessor. Ms. Carmen, would you like to come on and give us some information about your candidacy? You're muted. You're on mute.
A second. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, I am Carmen Turner, and I actually won. I'm not in a runoff, so I have been hard out here in the field working with a couple of candidates and having fun. Looking forward to the runoffs that's getting ready to come up. That's about all. Is that good?
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you. And then we have Miss Bridget Lawson Smith, attorney at law and candidate for Fort Bend County Attorney.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am in a runoff. I am Bridget Smith Lawson, running for the Fort Bend County Attorney position. As I've been saying for the past year now, running on real experience, dedication to public service, and proven leadership ability. I'm a 17-year licensed attorney, a 17-year public servant, and I have worked my way from the very bottom all the way to the top in terms of state government and functions. I am a person who grew up in poverty, who faced all kinds of social barriers, including racial discrimination, and even into moving myself up the career ladder, having to constantly be bombarded by little microaggressions and overt aggressions of racism. And even with this race, if I'm elected and I win, I'm the first Black female county attorney in the history of Texas, let alone Fort Bend. So all throughout even the political process, constantly having to assure people of qualifications and not, as some people say, don't vote for her because she's Black. All of those little things, you'll be surprised, is playing even into our campaigning. So, but I'm here, still standing strong, undeterred, and very grateful for this opportunity to talk about the elephant that has been in the room, or in this country rather, for hundreds of years, and maybe have some thought-provoking conversation that moves us from this place to a better space in terms of how we deal with each other as a country with our race matters. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And then we have Ms. Kali Morgan, attorney at law and candidate for Judge 505 District Family Court.
Hi, good evening, ladies. So I'm also in a runoff like Bridget. Election day is July 14th. I'm not sure if Bridget told y'all that, but election day is July 14th. Early voting starts June 29th. I had to plug that in. So I'm running for the 505th District Family Court. Our family courts are the courts that hear divorces, child support, child custody, CPS, those types of cases that affect our children, cases that affect our families. And by trade, I am a licensed family law attorney. I've only practiced family law since graduating law school many years ago. Family law, child welfare law, and really I decided to run for office kind of late last year. I didn't set out in 2019 intending on running for office, but I was at a place where I was trying to figure out, what's next as far as my career, not as far as getting a higher title or making more money, but I had a desire, a passion, I guess, kind of like a fire burning inside of me to do more. What can I do more? You know, what else can I do with this passion that I have for this area of law? And so I was really kind of at a crossroads. I just had a desire. I know I wanted to be in family law. I know I love this work. You know, I'm anybody who knows me will tell you I'm extremely passionate about what I do, but I just had a desire to do it on a greater scale. As a lawyer, you know, you can touch one case at a time, and that wasn't good enough for me. I feel like if I can get on the bench, then I can really affect some change, some much needed changes in our court system as far as our kids, as far as our families. And so I kind of late in the game decided this is what I need to do. It's not about the one case at a time. I need to get up here. So get in the system to change the system. You can't change the system if you're not a part of it. And so that's essentially what drove me to run. I'm excited about the possibility of what could be. I think at a baseline, our family court judges should care about families and should care about all children. And I'm excited about this conversation tonight because, you know, there is racism in family courts. I've seen it over 15 years. I've seen it all different types of ways. So I'm looking forward to talking to y'all about that tonight. And it's just, we have to have committed people who are going to do the right thing. It's a public office, you're a public servant. So we have to have people who are going to serve and emphasize that servant aspect of it and really do the right thing. And so that's the only reason I'm here. And I would just appreciate y'all's support at the polls next month as well, or later this month, in 2 weeks, actually.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Then we have Shay Tatum, UHD student body president, but I think she's former now, if I'm correct on that, Shay.
Yes, my term just ended actually a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, so I am the former UHD SGA president. I was the first African American female president of 40 years on that campus. But right now I am studying nonprofit management. Graduate in December, and I'll be getting my Juris Doctorate start in the fall of the next year. So. I'm excited about this conversation. I'm really tired of really talking about what we already know is happening. We know racism exists. We know that a lot of people have made a lot of bad choices and did a lot of bad things to a lot of good people. And I'm really ready to do. I'm tired of talking about it. So I'm really ready to do something about it. And so again, I'm hoping that this conversation can kind of give us a plan on what do we do instead of let's, you know, stop talking about it. Let's do something, you know?
Exactly. And with that being said, you know, it's 2020. I would have never expected to be in a live, you know, revolution back when, you know, our grandparents were going through the same thing. So how is it? It's 2020 and we're still facing the same thing. What has not changed and what do we need to change in the judicial system? Ms. Kali?
Oh my God. How much time do you have? No, I mean, you know, first and foremost, you know, all of this starts in here, in your heart. And I truly believe that there are some things, you know, people say, well, we have to raise our kids to be a certain way. You know, it starts at home, but I think a lot of it starts in here. And I really don't believe, you know, with some people, if you can't change your heart, they're never going to change. You know, it's falling on deaf ears. And so what happens then, these people who grow up in these environments or who harbor this hatred in their heart, you know, they go to college, they go to law school, you know, they get law licenses, they run for office just like the rest of us, and they've infiltrated our government, our systems are, and so this is what we're dealing with. This is the culmination of all of this. It's kind of like the chickens have come home to roost. And so I think as far as judicial system go, you know, if we don't catch it when they're in law school, we may not catch it. People get by. We have to catch it before we put them in positions of leadership. We have to try to do more just as citizens. It's our responsibility. You know, we tell people to go vote, but we should also do our research and find out who we're voting for and what are these people about. And we have to try to stop them from getting in these positions in the first place, because chances are the people who are causing these issues in the court system, they were already like that before they got on the bench. I mean, you know, Bridget and I can tell you, you know, we've seen people get on the bench and we already know kind of how their courthouse is going to be run because of who they are. And so if we can educate people to do their research, and where we're automatically trained instead of just going in blindly, we're automatically trained. And I don't know if it needs to start at the school level. We all take government in high school, but what are they teaching them how to make educated decisions? Are they teaching them how to research a candidate and find out more information and how to find issues that are on your ballot? I think these things need to be learned. It kind of starts at the bottom and trickles its way up. But as far as once they get elected, it's hard. It's hard, and that's why it's so important, because once that, for instance, myself, once a judge is on the bench, that's a 4-year term. And sometimes it feels like it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. There doesn't seem to be any real consequences for it from what I've seen. I've practiced in front of many a judge, great judges, but I've also had some who shouldn't have been on the bench in the first place. And I have been told, if you don't like it, write your congressman. If you don't, so what? I can go on and on, but I think it starts in here. It starts at home. It starts with us. It's kind of, we all have to do our part to protect the integrity of our judicial system. It's not a one fixed thing, but we can do it by electing better people to leadership positions. We can do it by doing our research. We can do it by teaching our kids how to do their research and make educated decisions. We can do it by raising our kids to be different and to not to be hateful. But it's pieces of a puzzle, and it's gonna take every single level to really affect change. Running for office is just one part of it, but it started way before me.
Yeah. Bridget, would you like to answer as well? Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
I agree with what Khalid just said. And I actually, a couple of weeks ago, I spoke at the Breonna Taylor rally at the Discovery Green Center. And one thing I said to the crowd was, we have to stamp out racism at the kitchen table before we stamp it out at the White House, meaning it is taught and it is learned from being at the home with your family, from how your neighbors interact, from before you even get to school. We know that all types of socialization has been learned and absorbed.
Oh, she went back on mute.
I just unmuted myself. Okay, so we know that different social behaviors are learned before children even enter school, let alone middle school, high school, college, and graduate schools, and then out into our respective professions. So we do have to deal with this as an issue of the heart. And now what we need to make sure is that now that we're seeing all of the protests, that people who are actually looking at these issues of racism, that they're dealing with them from a genuine perspective of getting down to the root cause of what they feel and how they feel about people who don't look like them. This is not an opportunity for pandering, an opportunity for just, sympathetic. So I'm sorry. If you're not going to really be genuine about what racism is, which destroys the lives of many people, which has institutionally destroyed the lives of Black people generationally, then we need to be also aware of how we're capturing this moment and using it for a genuine opportunity to get to the issues of racism that people have in their hearts, and not to sugarcoat it, to make sure your Black friends feel good, or to make it appear that you also love Black people. No, really get to the issue of what racism is. And that's going to affect not only our court system, but every professional arena that we have in America. So yes, we can just talk about the court system, but this is something that affects everything that we do, from how we interact at the mall, from how we interact in the corporate arena, definitely in the public sector. I mean, from the criminal justice system on and on and on. So the issue of the heart is really what it is, and what is being taught at your home. And I know that there are opportunities for people to take certain courses online to help them realize what triggers that they have that may make them or arouse their bias to certain groups. And people need to be aware of those opportunities to test themselves, so that they can genuinely, again, get to the root cause of where they are, when they're dealing with other races, which will then help them in dealing with every system that we're working with, including the judicial system. For 17 years I've been licensed, and we've seen so many things occur. I do remember where there was a case that Black Lives Matter showed up at the court, and the judge went ballistic. And it was an ugly incident. We had to bring it up all the way to our chain of command in Austin, but it was offensive that was so offensive to that judge, right? The court is an open forum. Who is he to tell someone that this group can't come in court, right? So we have seen, Kali and I know we've seen all different types of scenarios. You wouldn't even imagine it, but without rehashing all of those issues and all of those occurrences, the main thing we have to do today is get to the root cause of what it is that caused Americans to have hiccups and hangups with Black people. And it's not just white America, because we have to be very clear. Black people have been victims of racism by other races, not just white people. And that's another elephant in the room that we need to be able to talk candidly about. But again, everyone has a heart. Everyone is moving and going off of what they've been taught in terms of their social skills and their socialization, how they've been raised, etc. If everyone gets down to what is really making them feel this way about a certain group, we can move past it. But that's,
Yeah, thank you. Carmen, would you like to expand on that as well? Is she there?
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm a little bit older than some of you guys, so I seen some things back in my day that were really, really bad. And even now, things hasn't changed that much. You know, I was looking at something on TV the other day, and I think the lady was saying something about she had to have a discussion with her young kids, her 7-year-old kids, 8-year-old kids about racism. I've had that conversation with my son, and it's not the easiest thing to have, the easiest conversation to have. You think that you'd be talking to your son about a lot of other things other than racism, but when you have a son, a Black son, at this day and time, and he started driving at 16, 17 years old, and you have to have that conversation about what happens when a police officer approaches you and what you should and should not do. I had that conversation. It was not easy. The first time he was stopped, being a mother in this day and age, being a mother, hearing that man pass away, calling for his mother, it was terrible for me, because every time my son goes out that door, that's my worry. Somebody doing the same thing to him. And who would expect a police officer to do it? Me personally, I think that racism starts at the home. I didn't teach racism to my son. My son went to high school at a school called Westside High School. He was in the engineer program. He was probably 1 out of 10, maybe one out of 10. It was very few Black kids in his class. But at the end of the day, I didn't teach it at home. We went through that with him, and then I went through it myself personally when I graduated from Lamar High School here in Houston, Texas, off of Westheimer. Back then, they only accepted so many of us were able to come in. But I had a dad, which they had no idea, that was an engineer. My mother was an engineer. So with them being both engineers, they had taught us. We grew up, Khalid grew up down the street from us, not far from us, over off of Westheimer and Memorial and Derry Ashford. We grew up in that area. So my dad and my mom didn't teach that. So to make a long story short, I really believe it starts in a form like we are right now, and teaching each other how to treat people. That's the only thing that's gonna make a change. And then not only that, we have to get out and vote, like Khalid said, like Bridget said, and teach our kids how to vote, teach our kids how to be family. Back when I came up, even though I grew up in Houston, we had to go to Bryan College Station every summer. And every summer we went to Bryan College Station. Keep in mind, if you got in trouble, the whole neighborhood whooped you. They got away from that. The police officers, we knew them by name. we got in trouble, the police officer was gonna bring us back home and we had to talk to our mom. These days, we don't even know our police officers. I don't know but one police officer, and that's my brother-in-law, and that's it. That's a shame. So we need to start getting in touch more with the community and the people in the community and know when our kids get in trouble. You know, back then we was trying to sneak off to the movie theater and the police officer got us after hours and he brought us back home to our mother. And he said, Miss Turner, here's your daughter. She was out there with that little boy. Do something about it. Now, they don't do that. They lock them up. They tie them down with chains or handcuffs, and then we got to go pick them up. So I think we need to get more in touch with the community, more in touch with the court system, and know who our neighbors are, to make a long story short. And that's all I have to say about it. I think that's the only way we're going to grow or go to another level is to get to know each other. You know, back in the day, like you see these kids now dancing with the police officer. We actually danced with a police officer in the street. We thought it was something exciting. We wanted to be a police officer. Now, kids don't want to be a police officer. They think that's a scary thing. And so we got to get back to the ground roots again. And I'm saying that because, like I say, I'm up in age and it's a little different for me than it is everybody else. But I grew up with racism, and that's how we dealt with it, you know.
Right. And I also have a question about, you know, what have you witnessed racism, and what was, if you would like to share? But I want to go to Shay so she can, you know, answer the first question as well. Then go back to, you know, have you encountered racism, and would you like to share it?
Hey, this is Shay. I agree with the ladies in their statements. And racism, I agree, starts at home. It's why but it's one thing that we don't teach our own children, right? So Black people don't teach our children that they're any different than anybody else. And the unfortunate thing is that other races teach their children that you're completely different than the Black people. You're completely different than them. And so when my children will come home and say, hey, listen, I can't, this guy, he's white, but he says I can't do this because I'm Black and his family won't allow me to come and play with him. And I'm like, why not? Well, Mom, because I'm Black, so he can come over here. And that used to bother me when my son was younger. And I'm like, well, no, he can't come over here. If you can't go over his house, at that point, I didn't want him to go at all, right? So, like, if you can't go to his house, he sure enough can't come here. And that's when I realized that, again, like you guys were saying, it's taught. It's from a very young age. I said before that when we grew up, we didn't have, we lived in Black neighborhoods. So everybody in the neighborhood was Black. You may have had one white family in the neighborhood, maybe, and it wasn't a bunch of them. But when white people came to our house, it was to do one or two things, and that was to collect insurance payment or to cut something off. Either way, my mom said, don't let them white people in the house, period. And so we just never did. So we didn't have that interaction. I think what happens is the way that we get our children to be more inclusive and our children to be to understand that everybody is equal and everybody's the same is we have to introduce them to different cultures. And that's why I take my kids to different restaurants. Here's an Asian restaurant, or here's a Spanish Mexican restaurant. You take them in different places to experience different cultures so they'll know, hey, these are different people, but we're all really the same. So I just think that at this point, we need to be in that momentum that we have right now with the protesters and follow that momentum and actually make change. And that change happens. I
Deborah.
Say it all the time, that change happens at the voting poll.
You know who the host is.
And that change can happen at the voting poll. That change happens at our kids at this very young age. I wasn't born in the 60s, but I look at documentaries and I see how active and engaging these young people were about civil rights and how they rode that wave and they made the change. And that's what we have to do now. Ride the wave of these young people and make the changes, and it starts at the poll. I believe that wholeheartedly. And unfortunately, and fortunately, I think at one, that the ballots no longer say Democrat or Republican. You actually have to know who you're voting for now. And I think that's a great thing because it forces you to research who you vote. It forces you to say, hey, listen, this is somebody I want to represent me, because now I know who it is. I read their name. I may have even read their bio. So you have to do the research now. It's not just straight Democrat tickets. It's not straight Republican tickets, which I think is going to make a lot of changes at the poll. I think that's where we have to start. We have to start in our homes for sure. And we have to make sure our children know the difference. We have to introduce them to different cultures so that the change can be ongoing and a continuous nature. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, we still have to do what our parents did back then, tell their sons and daughters, like, if the police, you encounter the police, or if you're in a restaurant or something like this, you're encountering some type of, situation, you have to act this kind of way. And we still have to continue to teach that generation after generation. So we definitely need to stop it right now and continue this movement. And, with the other question of, have you encountered any racism, and would you like to share it? Bridget?
Of course, yes. I think everybody Black has had what we call a collective experience. That one moment when somebody not Black reminds you that you are Black. And I know everyone has had that. Some people choose to ignore it, but everyone has had that experience. And I'm sure if I could probably get somebody raise hands on this chat and on this Zoom, that would be the same thing. Of course, I've experienced racism. Of course, as a Black professional, when we were growing up, and I'm just going to be very candid on this call. When we were growing up, we were always told you have to be 10 times better than the non-Black, because they're going to automatically discount you. And so we had to work harder. And I'm sure you've heard that before. So yes, I've experienced that. Yes, I've had instances where, as a kid, I'm walking down the street, me and my sister, and we cross the street, and someone in the car who's, two older white ladies, I remember specifically, locked the doors, like double locked it. You can hear it clicking, and it's like, okay, well, we weren't going to do anything to you. And you keep on, but you know what that's about. And that's just one instance of growing up. Even in the professional arena, I remember when I was licensed, I got licensed in 2003, and I was doing bankruptcy. And I remember one of my clients had a receiver appointed to their account. And I'm talking to this person who's a lawyer in Houston, Texas, who's a receiver for the finances. This is without going into collection law. He's talking to me and he's like, Marquisha. He refused to call me by my first name, Bridget, but kept defaulting to my middle name, Marquisha. Marquisha. That was, of course, I'm not ashamed of the name, but the way he used it, he was trying to make sure that he put me in my place. As a Black professional, even in the political arena, having to make sure that everyone knows that I am qualified while others get a rebuttable presumption of it. I'm having to overly prove myself, albeit I'm a public servant and everything that I do can be verified by way of the government, by way of, calling Austin and just getting it pulled. So yes, I have experienced racism. No, it is not a good thing. But I do believe, as I said a few minutes ago, everybody Black has had that one moment where somebody reminded them that they are Black, whether it happened when they were young, whether it happened when they were adult or older. It's just a collective experience that we have had. It is wrong, yes it is, and I'm glad we're now looking and taking introspection of all of ourselves, including our white sisters and brothers. I do call them our sisters and brothers because we're all brothers and sisters in the Lord, but I'm glad that everyone is taking this opportunity to look inside and genuinely grapple with their issues, their hangups, and those little subtle things that make them not accept someone who is not of their own color wholeheartedly, or discount them in any way, or maybe slight them in some form or fashion. So yes, I've had an issue or incidents of racism throughout my life. So,
yeah. And I remember back when I was little, I wanted to hang out with a group of friends. They were a group of, they were white, and I wanted to hang out with them, going to the zoo. But my friend said, you can't come with us. And I didn't understand why at the time. You can't, my mom said you can't be in our group. And I was like, okay. So I had to, go and be with the, another group. I had to be with the a mixed group, but my best friend, she was, white at the time. And, I couldn't go to her house at all. We can only play together at school. And so, growing up, I understood what was going on. And it's sad because our kids are going through that now.
Yes.
And it really breaks my heart to, have to say, this is what the world is, and we have to prepare you because the world will eat you up, basically.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many times, there's no way, I mean, I could rehash them all. I mean, gosh, going to summer camp, I remember I was in a cabin with all white girls, and they told me, don't you want to go to the cabin with the black girls? And they were actually trying to move me out. But long story short, there are so many times and occurrences, and some of these we've kind of filed back in our memories and suppressed just so that we can process it and move on with it and not stay in that horrible place or that horrible moment. But we all, wow, I'm sure we probably don't even have enough time on this call to go through all of it, but just some of the highlights of what we have experienced, and most of these have been years removed. And just the fact that these are years removed and we're talking about it right now, we get passionate about it, just tells us that there's still hurt there. There's still some unresolved pain that we experience even as children and even as young adults and even now, that we can't even articulate it all. But when we talk about it, it's a well of emotion that can overflow, if we stay in that space too long. But yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. The other question is the elephant in the room. How do we get white people to understand that there's still racism going on, and that, they don't see it, or they don't want to see it, or they're uncomfortable to talk about it, but how can we get them to see it, that it's still going on in other cultures as well? Because they don't see their privilege, and it's right here in their face, but what is blinding them to see what is actually going on?
I feel like, first of all, I will say that for the most part, I guess, the white people in my circle, they have acknowledged it. They see it. They're not in denial. They know that it's a thing. You don't have to have COVID to know that COVID is real and that people are affected by it. I don't have it, but I believe that people are affected by it. And it's the same type. You don't have to experience something personally to understand that it exists. And I really feel that it's a choice. I don't believe that there are people in 2020 walking around totally oblivious that racism, they just are not aware that racism is a thing. I think that they are pretending to be ignorant because they're choosing to ignore it. You don't have to experience it. Turn on the TV, to have a conversation with someone is everywhere. You can see it. And so I think that, again, those who want to acknowledge it and want to make a difference are doing that. I feel like they're taking those steps. My neighborhood just had an event, I believe that was last week, and it was organized by some white people in my neighborhood who wanted to have a better understanding of what their Black neighbors were going through, what we were feeling about all of this, who wanted to give us a safe space to come and say, look, I'm hurting because of this, and not having people say, okay, well, you're using the race card or that's not real. They want to know what they can do to help. How can they help change things for the better? And so I appreciate that. And it was a lot of people showed up, and it was great. It's just I feel like there's just a certain segment of society. I don't know if we will ever change those people. I believe that they, for whatever reason, they were raised to be a certain way, or they're intentionally choosing to be ignorant. I don't know what else to call it, but they're intentionally choosing to be ignorant. And I don't know that there's anything that we can do about it. These are adults. I really feel like it will start with whatever, higher power they believe in, turning their hearts away from that wickedness and that evil way of thinking. We can't convert people, but for the people who want to understand. I think they've been very supportive. I've had a lot of support during this time. I've had people send me a message and just say, you know, I don't know what to say, but I just want you to know that, you know, you're my friend. I love you. And, you know, I'm always here for you. I don't know what to say. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but you know, I always have your back. You know, whatever it is, just a simple acknowledgement, and does mean a lot, because it's hard to go through things and not be able to express yourself without someone shooting you down, or, you know, you're trying to use your race, you're playing the race card. You know, we all have bad experiences. You know, I'm not privileged, you know, not understanding that privilege doesn't have anything to do with financially. That's not what we're talking about. And so I feel like to me, in order for people to be as racist as they are, sometimes I feel like, in my opinion, that's just an evilness inside. And I just don't know what we can do to put a stop to that. They're going to have to want to change themselves. The best that we can do, those of us who are against it, is have a zero tolerance for it. We don't have to entertain it. We can shut it down. Whether you're black, white, whatever, if you hear it, say something about it, call them out. Don't entertain those kind of conversations when you're at home, when you're with your friends, when you're in your safe space where there's all black people, all white, all Hispanic, whatever, and somebody starts being racist. It takes the other people who are not to say, hey, to shut it down. And it literally is going to take all of us to combat this issue. We cannot give people passes ever for this type of stuff. It's never okay. And if you're out in public, you know, everybody has this whole, I mind my own business, I'm not going to say, but we have to get away from that. We have to start calling people out. I heard what you said. That's not okay here. You need to leave, or whatever we have to do to protect each other, because those people are going to be who they are going to be. We cannot change them, but it's more of us than it is of them. And so we stick together to fight against them. I think they're outnumbered, and I think they'll have no choice eventually but to retreat. We're not going to make the evil person uneven. I'm sorry. I don't see it happening in my lifetime. I've experienced, I couldn't even, like Bridget said, we'd be on this call all night. Talking about different experiences that we've had. But I personally, I guess, you know, I will say there are more people who are mad about what's going on and wanting to do something than the ones who are justifying it.
Yeah.
Okay. And Carmen, would you like to say something?
You know, I have been self-employed for over 30 something years. And I've dealt with the Indian community. I've dealt with the white people. I owned a mortgage company. I was a mortgage banker, a mortgage broker. And Black women, if they only knew what I had to go through just being a Black woman, being self-employed. And I could walk in some banks just because of how I treated a person. Because a lot of times that teller or that person that I got to talk to about this loan was never Black. They were always white or another color. I was treated very bad. So I had to, when I'm at a point now in my life where I'm tired of trying to win people over. You know, I'm gonna let my experience and my background and my education and what I know in business take over. And I'm trying to think all the things that I did back then, did they catch on? I got a $500,000 loan here, and I got to talk nice to this lady, not the idea that this woman has great credit. And they actually look on the credit report and check the box, Black, white. I'm tired of that. I personally think that, like Police said earlier, we have to do it as a whole. If we don't do it as a whole, it's never going to work. We have to teach our kids. We have to teach everybody. Us professionals have to still live like that in this day and time. It's crazy. And we even sometimes are treated bad from our own race. So I'm sitting here thinking, what do we do as a whole?
Yeah.
We have to support each other. You know, we have to make, just like, you know, I try to make a habit of shutting down gossip when people bring it to me. Same thing with anything else anything that is not of you, that you don't want to be associated with, like i.e. racism, shut it down. Just shut it down. And you know what happens eventually? The more you shut that stuff down, people will stop bringing it around you. they'll stop. They'll realize that you're not receptive to it. You're not going to receive it. So I'm not even going to bother to tell her. And that works perfectly for me. And I feel like if we all come together, Black people, we cannot fight racism by ourselves. Okay. It's not one race that can overcome this alone. You look back to the civil rights era, there was not just Black people out there. We have to have allies with us.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
I have a question.
We're going to do questions in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Could you hold on for a few minutes? And Kali, you just touched on something, allies. Like, who are good allies? Who would be a good ally?
Anybody who cares enough to get involved, and everybody's level of involvement is different. You know, some people may go out and protest. If that's not your thing, it may just be being a support or shutting it down at your house, teaching your kids different. You know, we all play a different role. You know, we can't, I'm never one to dictate how someone should express themselves, or you should be out here protesting, or you should be posting this on social media. If that's not your thing, that's not your thing, but do something else. I don't care what you put on social media. If you're at home teaching your kids to be a better person, or if you're out in public and you see something and you say something, then that's fine with me. If we all do our respective parts, then it'll eventually come together. We just all have to do our parts. We cannot sit back. And I think these protests and these millennials and these younger generations have shown us the days of sitting back, being quiet, tolerating we're done.
Right.
Those days are over, in case no one noticed. These young people are out here making noise. Whether you like the way they're doing it or not, the message is loud and clear. These corporations are getting in line. People are switching it up. I saw this morning, or maybe late last night, Aunt Jemima Syrup. They've rebranded the whole syrup line. And it's just a matter of people are waking up because of the noise. This noise has woke them up. And so if we need to keep making noise, we're going to keep making noise. That's what we need to do. Whatever we need to do to affect change, we're going to make noise. We're going to vote. We're going to protect each other. We're going to have each other's back. We're going to raise our kids better. We're going to be better as people. We're going to do all the pieces to make this thing work. It takes everything, every part to make it work. I'm willing to do my part. I'm trying to run for office, to get on the bench, to do what needs to be done to be truly fair. I'm not saying that I'm going to be fair and compassionate as a campaign slogan. I'm doing this because this is who I am as a person. And I feel that the people deserve to have a judge who's going to have a heart for people and a heart for children and a heart for families and doing what's right. And so it just, like I said, we have to start it at home. I've always had to teach my kids. I don't have a son, I have daughters, but when they got ready to go to school, I have little Black daughters. I'm fortunate to live in a very diverse community. I love my neighborhood because it is extremely diverse, but they're still, they still end up being one of two little Black girls in their class, and so I have to prepare them for the people who are not talking to their kids about certain things at home. It's okay to be different. It's okay. We have different skin colors. Our hair is different, and that's okay. I tend to wear my hair in different, braided styles a lot because that's how I do my daughter's hair. And they need to see their mother looking like them. That's very important to me. And so I've had to tell them, okay, well, I had to prepare them for what other people might say. Well, your hair is beautiful. Your skin is beautiful. You're this. So I kind of ingrained that in them before they went to school, so that when they got to school, and it started in kindergarten, when people say, what's wrong with your hair? Why is your hair puffy? Why does your hair stick up like that? They were already ready with the snapback because I had already groomed them to know I'm beautiful the way that I am. And other people need to do the same thing. People who are of different races, talk to your kids, let them know not everybody is going to look like you. And that's okay, especially these kids who are going to school. They've never been in a daycare or a preschool, and they've only been around their family members or people who look and act and think just like them. We need to let our kids know, what, it's okay, that's fine. My kids will tell me all the time, well, mommy, so-and-so has red hair or such and such, her hair is, and I always say, well, that's fine. Well, that's how God made her. Oh, that's fine. That's my go-to. Oh, really? That's fine. I bet that's pretty. I just say stuff like, oh, red, really? I bet that looks pretty. So that they know, like, oh, yeah, it is pretty. And we just have to keep that momentum going. We're going to do our part in every arena.
Right. Yes. And then, so last question, and then we're going to open it up for our guests to ask the panel any questions that they would like. This question is for Shay. Shay, can the new generation of white be good allies?
I'm glad you asked that. So I was listening, right? So we only make up about 13% of the population in America. And about 3% of that don't even believe that this stuff is real. They think we're just whining and complaining. So we only have about 10% of the people who are really on this boat with us trying to make real changes. So allies are very important, right? So we know that 10% of the population can't change 90% alone. So we have to have allies. We have to have people who believe in the fight, who believe in the cause, who understand that white male dominance is a real thing, that white privilege is a real thing. And y'all talked about white privilege earlier, and it kind of got to me a little bit, because I think that for a white person to not understand that they have white privilege is foolery. To me, it's nonsense. Don't tell me you don't understand what white privilege is if you're white. Now, you may not understand it if you're black, because we don't really have that much privilege, but if you're white, you know what white privilege is. You know that when I walk in the store, they watch me in the store. And you know when you walk in the store, you just walk in and shop. You know there's a difference, right? So when y'all were talking about that, I was like, oh no, this man told me, he's like, hey, I like your hair. It's probably a wig, right? I was like, well, sort of, kind of, not really a wig. It's a sew-in. And he's like, what, is your hair nappy under there? And when I tell you, I said, first of all, you can never say nappy to me. In no context ever can you say nappy to me. I don't care how you use it. You can never say that word to me. He said, well, it's not like I said the N-word. I said, no, it is just like you said the N-word. You could never say that to me. So he did not. So even when I got with him and explained to him why he couldn't say it, he was like, oh, Shay, you're just doing over dramatics. I said, I'm not over dramatic. I'm an African American who's been called nappy headed all her life. So you could never say that to me again, right? So when I even explained to him what white privilege was, he's like, well, I don't think I had white privilege. I was poor. I said, you could be the poorest white man in America, but I bet you standing next to the richest black man in America, you will still be a difference. Mm-hmm. There's still going to be a difference. So that white privilege thing, because it kind of hits a nerve for me, because I don't understand when white people say they don't understand what privilege is. I'm sorry, I don't take that as an excuse. You can give that to somebody else. You know what it is, and you've experienced it, right? So I do believe that we need a bunch of allies. We have to have our brown brothers and brown sisters to say, hey, listen, this isn't right. How do we make this change happen? We have to have our Asian brothers and Asian sisters. Even when Corona came, I was over picking up my supplies because I have a hair salon. So I'm over picking up my supplies, and they were like, oh man, Shay, you still came by. I say, well, why wouldn't I come by? Because people really are believing that we brought Corona to America, and I haven't been to China in over 30 years. And I said, first of all, that's racist to say that you bought. I said, but again, that comes from the top. That comes from the president who said this is a Chinese disease. So you guys are hurting in this Chinese community that supplies all of these things to my hair salon, my cousin's restaurant. Y'all supply all this stuff. I said, know that you have support, right? So me telling them, know that you have support with me, we need them to do the same thing. Know that you have support with us. So I've seen some signs when I was protesting, before I got scared of Corona and the numbers started rising. So I saw a sign that said, your fight is our fight. It was written in Spanish. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's what everybody needs to say. I need that sign written in Cantonese. I need that sign written in Spanish. I need that sign written in English. I need that sign written in German. I need that sign written everywhere, because our fight should be your fight. Because this has been on for over 400 years. And it's to me, again, like I say, I'm ready to be about the business of making the change. Like, we can keep talking about it. We are a forgiving people. You can kill 9 people in the church and then walk into court and say, I understand and I'm sorry. Sorry, no, I'm not that African American. You killed 9 people in my church. I don't have it for you. So we are forgiving people. So people do things to us all the time. They've been doing this for years, and we say, oh, okay, well, we're sorry. We'll pray for you. No, it's time to stop. We need to stop doing that as a people. Right. We say, you're wrong, you're out of line, and we will not let that happen again. And we need people that's backing us up to say the exact same thing. you're wrong. You shouldn't be doing that, and you shouldn't do this to a group of people. And that's what we should do with allies. That's how we, get our allies on our side. And again, we all have white friends, we all have Spanish friends, we all have Asian friends, we all have different types of friends. Check your friend level. And I say check where your friend is and say, hey, where are you on this? What are you doing on this? And if your friend don't tell you, hey, I got your back, hey, I'm with y'all,
That's
hey,
right.
what you need me to do, then that's not your friend.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they should, and that's not somebody I want in my circle. So I don't want you in my circle like, I don't really want to get involved, and I don't want to. No, I don't need you in my circle, because right now I need people who want to be involved, who want to be a part of the fight, who want to make the change. And all of this wishy-washy, nah, I ain't got time. Nope, sorry, nope.
Yeah, 'cause if they're not saying anything, they're being silent and it's still continuing and perpetuating the situation.
You're part of the problem. If you have nothing
right.
to say, you're part of the problem.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. We can go on and on. We would have to have like a 2-hour sip and chat for this, but I definitely want to open it up to questions for the guests. So if you have questions, you can ask the panelists. Anyone have any questions that they want to ask the panelists?
Yeah, this is Diana Waters. I actually don't have a question, but I do want to congratulate my young colleagues for being aware of the situations that we are faced today. I am old school, and I appreciate what Shay said. I was kind of late being able to get in. I was muted. But anyway, I appreciate what Shay said, because like James Baldwin said, and I just want to make sure that I just quote him, because what he said is just so real. Until we actually deal with and face the issues, there's not going to be any change. And I just paraphrase it. But again, I do want to say this. I appreciate all the white people, Asian, Indians, whatever they are, for coming out on front line with us, because I personally feel if Black people would have been on the front line in all these protests and marches, some of us wouldn't be around today. So I want to thank them, because these young people, they realize that it is going to take a village to raise a child. It's going to take all of us to make some change. This stuff been going on forever. Over 55 years ago, our people were posting, police stop killing us. So again, because there's been no consequences of their actions, I was at a meeting with Kim Ogg and Chief Acevedo and Johnny Mata and Derek Muhammad and Ed Gonzalez, all of them. And I was telling them, rarely do a Black cop kill another Black person if they can help it. But they know don't kill nobody white, because the justice system is different for them. But white people, rarely will those cops kill another white. But they feel it's okay to kill Blacks because there's haven't been any consequences. Like that cop, the chief policeman in Minnesota was boasting that they did get a conviction of a cop. They were successful. But of course, it was a Black cop who accidentally or mistakenly killed a white woman who came up to this car at midnight. Anybody would have just shot at somebody. But again, he's in jail. So there is two different justice systems here in America. And again, we don't even have, look, Attorney Barr needs to go, because again, we know he don't represent the people of the United States. So we won't get any kind of justice as long as we got 45 in office. Now, people who know me, I don't believe in sugarcoat nothing and just being nice. I'm not a candidate, so I'm not running for office, so I don't have to be nicey. But we have to call a spade, and we have to deal with this stuff head on. And again, I appreciate what you said, Touche, about the white privilege. I had a coworker back in the 90s when I used to teach school back in Colorado, and you're in Columbine, y'all might be too young for that. But I had one of my coworkers, she said her father said, he's white, why he's still in the stores blind, the Chinese stores and all that stuff. He said he can steal them blind because he knows that they're watching the African American people. So again, we have this stuff all over, but I'm so thankful that all over the world, even though I hate that Floyd lost his wife, I thank Barbara Streisand for giving his daughter some shares to Disneyland, because Disney World, I think. So she's going to be set for the rest of her life, even though it's nothing like having your father there. But I'm just saying, I think people of all races are, for the most part, have finally said, I'm sick and tired of this, or at least they can be empathetic or sympathetic, because I personally feel no white person can really understand the gist of it. It's just simple fact that because you're not white. So you can't understand what it's like to be shot and killed with no consequences from these cops and stuff. Now, I'm not saying all cops are bad. My cousin's a cop. But I'm just saying, I told Chief Vassavator, all them, I says, until you guys start calling out your own cops, when you guys are silent about it, it makes people think that, you know, you guys are all stick together. But when you call out those bad apples, if you feel that is one bad apple, which I know is not one bad apple, but if you feel like that, call them out, get rid of them, get them fired and stuff, prosecute them. So again, look what happened to that case real quick in here in Houston, where that cop is responsible for killing 2 white people. Oh, I mean, they got on that right away. So again, we have to face it head on and deal with it. And like we said, this racism is systemic. I mean, it's institutionalized. This is all they know. Because again, the country is used to, you know, the white man being in charge. And what is all this about? He's intimidated that he feels that his time is winding up. His time of being in control and being powerful over every race of people, it's over with. And I've asked coworkers, what part of your history can you be proud of? I'm talking about white people. And again, I ain't talking about all white people. I'm not afraid that, you know, some people might feel the way, but I just believe in telling it like it is. But again, I just said, what part of your history can you be proud of? Because you've oppressed every group of people there is out there, and it's time for change. So again, those white people that are changing and helping us, I want to thank you. Because again, you know that it's going to take you guys to help us. Because again, you know, Colin Carpenter, why is he out of a job?
We
Why
have
is
to,
he out of a job even then?
Sorry,
So
we have to
anyway,
move to the next question.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
But I'm very compassionate about
Yes, yes, we're all very passionate. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Down the time.
Thank you. No problem. Also, we have one more question. What does equity look like in the future for us? For the panelists.
I'd like to kind of answer that. So we all know that you can be joined in together and still unequally yoked. I think we've all heard of that phrase. So when people say we're all in this together, well, we're all Americans. Well, we know that Blacks and Americans for since we came to these shores, but we have been unequally yoked in this country in terms of the opportunities that we've been given, whether it's in the workplace, education, healthcare, etc. We all know what those numbers look like. We are disproportionately affected in every arena, even in this pandemic. So equity looks like, to me, having us at the table to voice our concerns and to be able to present the African-American experience to every agenda of life that we are operating in and within this country. What do I mean by that? As Diana just said a few minutes ago, the Black experience is a unique experience that not too many other, well, I can say this, no other racial group has been able to experience. Every other ethnic group has come here voluntarily. We were brought here as slaves with the stigma of slavery that has transcended all of these years. Everybody who enters any arena of life, whether you are a judge putting on a robe, or you are being moved to a CEO position, or if you're just a manager at a Jack in the Box, you walk in and you bring with you your own life experiences. Right. The Black experience has been left out of so many agendas and so many avenues and so many top floors of the corporate ladder, and even the judicial system, and even in politics, in every arena that there is, to where our voice is left off and there's no one there to articulate our concerns at the table. So equity looks like, to me, us being able to have an opportunity to have a seat at the table, to have a piece of the pie, to be able to bring our own experiences, so that when the decisions are being made, we can speak from the voice and the perspective of the African-American experience that is one that is unique of every ethnic group in this country. So equity means, to me, us having an opportunity to be a part of the decisions and not just voting, to be in positions of office and not just voting, to be owning the business and not just patronizing it, and all those other arenas, to be the doctors and not just going to see the doctor. In every arena that there is, our voice is heard. We're stakeholders and not just support staff, if
That's
that
right.
makes sense.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it does. And I have two questions from the audience. How could we begin to have community engagement events in the movement for the panelists?
I think this is a good start. This is a great start. I mean, it takes one person, just one person. The event in my neighborhood was organized. I think one woman took the initiative and just said, how can I help? What can I do? And more people started joining in. Well, hey, I'll help you. Okay, well, I'll help you. And it takes one person. Don't be afraid to be that one. You have to, sometimes you have to do things in life and you're going to be out there by yourself. You may not get the support. You may not get what you think, but you have to keep pushing forward. If I sat around and waited until everybody around me cheered for me, clapped for me, or supported me, I wouldn't have gone this far in life. I would still be back waiting. You're never gonna get that. You may not get that team around you, but that should not hinder you from taking that first step. If you want to have a Zoom meeting where we talk about, have a real conversation, schedule it, put it out there. People will come. Look at the people who are on here tonight. If you want to organize something in your neighborhood, make a flyer and post it. People will come. And if there's nobody but you and a few people there, that is still better than doing nothing and saying nothing. Whatever you have to do by any means necessary, and it may just be you, so what? You do it anyway. And so I feel like things like this is a good start. Neighborhood events, they're a good start. Teaching our kids, that's a good start. And just getting to know your neighbors. I mean, do you know your neighbor? Do you know your Black neighbor? Do you know your Asian neighbor? Do you know your Hispanic neighbor? Get to know your neighbor. When you're friends with someone or you have a relationship with someone, you're more inclined to care about their experiences and what they're going through. And so I feel like all of this, it's all necessary, but this is great. These conversations are necessary, and we can't be afraid to talk about things. We can't sweep it under the rug anymore and act like we don't know what's going on and pretend that, this doesn't affect me, so I'm going to look the other way. It's time to call it all to the carpet, and this is what we're doing. This is what's happening in our society, and I think we're off to a great start.
Thank you. And the other question is, can anyone shed some light on how to promote the concept and impact of buying Black? The panelists. Okay.
I've heard people come to me this week, right, to say, hey, I have a list of places that you're supposed to shop at on June 19th. And you're supposed to shop at all these Black places and eat at all these Black restaurants and, and all that. So me personally, if I can buy Black, I often buy Black immediately. Like, I don't go, if I need somebody to do a party for me or host an event for me, I automatically go to Black, right? And then sometimes it bites me in the butt, and most times it doesn't. But I think it is very important that we promote not only good Black business, because just like there's bad white businesses, there's bad Black business, right? And so that we promote good Black businesses and that we build those businesses up, that we eat at those restaurants. So they may take about 30 minutes to get your food, but hey, just, that we build those businesses up and that we continue to support those people who are trying to make it. I have a hair salon. I've been in business probably about 20 years. And I've seen some kids grow up from 9 to married with kids. And now I'm doing their kids. I feel a little weird about that. But the funny thing is that they continue to refer and they continue to support my business. And I think that is because not only do I support them outside, at community events, and I do all that kind of stuff too, but they also trust me in what I do. And I think that if we get to a level of trust with Black businesses and make sure that we support those Black businesses and not only support our communities, that they're just not there making money because they are a Black business. I'm just here to make money, but you are also supporting the community that you're in, as well as supporting the people around you. So I think that, of course, we should most definitely shop Black, buy Black when you can, but again, just support those businesses.
Okay. And then I have a question from Diana. She said, why should we vote for Khalid, Bridget, Senator Royce West, and Carmen Turner in November? Basically all of the panelists.
Okay, well, I can start. Vote for me because I have real experience of dealing with county attorneys and district attorneys on a daily basis. That is unabridged, unadulterated, the truth. supporting them and representing a governmental agency. And I'm the only person in my particular race who has had a governmental agency as a client. Don't be fooled. The county attorney position is representing a governmental agency. And that is something that you don't just kind of feel around and figure out. It's very unique from representing individuals and businesses. Also, a public servant. This is public service. This is a call to the duty of working for 800,000 people in county, in this county. Public service is not something you just throw your hands up and just do because I just, want to get a title. It is something that I believe is a calling. And I have given the vast majority of my professional career and my adult life to public service. Proven leadership ability. The county attorney position is managing a division of lawyers and legal assistants. You're not a fry cook. You're not in there mopping floors. And that's no offense to anybody who's done that because I've actually worked the Dairy Queen drive-through myself. But what I'm saying is this. It is managing lawyers day one, which is something that you don't just get to figure out while you have the whole weight of the county government waiting for you to make decisions. And I'm the only person in this race who has years of experience of representing regulatory litigation attorneys across up to 23 counties in this area, including Fort Bend. So real experience, dedication to public service, and proven leadership ability. I've heard people say, well, don't vote for her just because she's Black. I never asked anybody to vote for me because I'm Black. I am unapologetically Black, yes I am, but I have what it takes to run that office day one, unabridged, unadulterated, without skipping a beat. Walking in, putting in systematic plans to get that office on point to the 11-point platform that I have with strategic trajectory check-ins to make sure that we are making it there. So I say that to say, I don't have any lies, hocus pocus, magic tricks, or rabbits pulled out of hat. I am doing the work every day. And
Lost you, Bridget. Well, I'll go next. Like Bridget, I do this work every day. You wouldn't let a gynecologist perform heart surgery on you. We have specialists for that, even though they're both doctors. And everybody with a law license doesn't need to be on the bench making decisions about our families and about our children. That is a very unique area of law. And in my opinion, it's so important because our kids are important. And every decision that is made from that bench will affect the life of a child for the rest of their life. I don't know if anyone on this call has ever been, part of the family court system. I know that I'm a product of divorce. And I know that even at this age, I still have feelings about certain things that happened during that process all these years later. And so these are lifelong, lasting, impactful decisions that are made, and it does require experience. This is not a learn on the go type job. I don't think you should be up there making decisions about a child's future on a whim. This requires a very unique skill set that is required to preside over these cases, and it's the only thing that I've ever done. I interned at a family law firm when I was in college. I interned with family lawyers throughout law school. And I have only practiced family law since I was licensed 15 years ago. It's very unique. I'm qualified for it. And in addition to that, I'm passionate about it. And I think that matters too. You have to have compassion as a judge. You can have all the knowledge in the world. If you don't have a heart for people and a heart for families and a heart for children, you have no business. And also I have integrity, and I feel like that's something the judge should have as well. I've always prided myself on having integrity. For 2 years of my career, and I'll make it brief, but for 2 years of my career, I worked for the State Bar of Texas. And for the non-lawyers, the State Bar is the agency that gives them to practice law in the first place. They issue out the law licenses and the bar cards. And I was hired by the State Bar to be a disciplinary counsel because of my experience in family law. What I did in that position is I reviewed the work of other family law attorneys to decide whether they were doing what they were supposed to do. Are you following what you're supposed to be doing? Are you ethical? Do you have integrity? Mm-hmm. Are you managing and handling clients' cases, and are you handling people appropriately? And if they were not, I had the power to suspend or disbar them, to suspend their license or disbar them altogether. And so when I say that I have integrity and that I uphold myself to the highest of standards, the State Bar definitely would not have hired me to do a job like that if I didn't. So I want people to know that I am committed to this. You know, I was hesitant in running for office because I am not a politician and I did not want to go through this political process. But, you know, if there was a way to get on that bench and bypass this process, trust me, I would have gone. I would have gone that road without anyone knowing who I was. But, you know, it's a necessary evil. But I feel like, you know, this is what I have to do. I've been called to do this. I have been in the trenches every day. I'm in court. I'm doing this job now. I'm a public servant like Bridget. We do not do government work because it pays a lot, okay? Neither one of us are in our positions for the money. Trust me, we could be making 2 or 3 times the money doing something else. This is a true calling. It is a true passion that we both share for public service. And I just hope that people get a sense of the commitment that I have to bettering our court system. People don't trust our court system. People don't trust our family courts. I've spent a lot of time on the campaign trail talking to parents about their experiences in family court, and they don't trust it. They're skeptical, and that's sad, and that has to change. When people go to court and deal with these cases involving their kids and involving their families, the last thing you need is the judge adding fuel to the fire and the judge instigating and stirring the pot. You have to have someone who is going to be level-headed, who is going to make the best decision, because adults are not always thinking about their child in family court. A lot of it is selfishness. They're thinking about themselves. And so somebody has to truly look out for the best interests of their children. I'm the best person to do that. I'm the only attorney, practicing family law attorney, that is running for this court. I'm the only one that has been endorsed by an organization of lawyers, the Houston Lawyers Association. I'm qualified, and I'll be ready to go on day one.
Awesome. Thank you. Carmen, are you there?
Yes,
Carmen?
I am.
Okay.
Vote for me because I care about the people. I've been in real estate for over 15, 20 years, and I'm sick and tired of people losing their houses for back taxes and not knowing how to take care of their taxes. Right now, I'm not running for office because I'm in for November. And I have answered more phone calls in the last 2 or 3 months because now that COVID has lifted, I'm getting phone calls about people taxes that has to be paid on their houses, property taxes. And it's so sad to say, a lot of people that I run into are veterans, and they get 40%, they're 40% disabled, and they're not getting their tax exemptions. Even before COVID actually got in place, I kept telling everybody on a higher level, state reps, that once they lift the order of the order from COVID, we were going to have to deal with these taxes. Now that our people have to pay the principal, the interest that's been charged to them for the months that they did not pay. Those are the type things that on day one, I'm going to make sure that our senior citizens are getting their discounts. Our kids know how to buy property taxes out the foreclosure. Those are the type of things that needs to be done. When I was in real estate, when I did real estate, I was teaching people how to buy houses. And that's what I want to get back to. Our community need to know how to buy houses. My son bought a house at 21 years old. Everybody can't say that. You know, most of the time we wait till we 30 and 40 years old. So I'm gonna have classes where people be able to learn how to pay their taxes, learn how to get their tax breaks, and not only that, learn how to buy investment property for the future. Carmen Turner is running for tax assessor in November, and we're gonna need all the help we can possibly get. Once these 2 young ladies get over the hurdle they're on right now, and they will get past it, I'm doing everything possible because I'm about the people. So when you put Carmen Turner in office, you put her in office to make sure the people are taken care of. So I'll have an open door policy where you'll be able to come into my office and tell me what's going on. And if I don't get it taken care of, somebody in my office don't get it taken care of, I will have a problem with that. I'm sick and tired of people going to a voice service or customer service and nobody else is found, and that problem never get taken care of. And that's one thing that all 3 of us on this panel right now has made a promise to each other. And we're going to have an open door policy where you'll be able to talk to us, get with us, and if our assistant or whoever is with us don't give back to you, let us know, because we're going to take care of it. So we're going to start something new for me, because I've been a victim of that. And that's teaching people how to buy investment property, teaching people how to get discounts on their taxes. And first thing I'm gonna try to do when I get in office is find a way of cutting these taxes where people can afford their houses again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. We have a guest that has a question. Robin Melee, is that how you say your name? Would you like to come on and ask your question?
Sure. Let's see. I'm Robin Maley. I wanted to address the white privilege, and I was thinking, you know, that Febreze commercial where they say you've grown nose blind and you don't smell the bad smells. I think that that's sort of like what the majority of white America lives with, just thinking, well, things are better than they used to be, you know, and being really just blind to the effects of years of trauma. It was kind of like we had the civil rights movement, and then all of a sudden everything's supposed to be okay, and things were never really healed, or amends weren't really having so much damage was done. You can't go from how things were this way. Of course, I was born in '73, so I grew up with Sesame Street, and it was multicultural. I guess I'm the first generation. X is like the first generation that didn't grow up with legislated racism. But so I think it's just time for people to wake up, and I'm hoping that, you know, this is the momentum that y'all are talking about with the millennials to really get people to wake up. But I just wanted to point out that we need to know who our real enemy is, and it's not one another. You know, for believers, you know, the war we wage, it's not against flesh and blood, it's against principalities. And you know, we're all humans, part of the human race. But I'm a history teacher, and so I like to take a look at European domination, which went over the whole world. You're talking about an elite group of people. You're talking about the wealthiest people of the world, this elite group that went and, you know, I don't want to use bad language, but, you know, did a lot of bad things to a lot of bad places. They took the natural resources, they enslaved the people. You know, European dominance, that went to Africa. They used the guns. That was their, you know, their way they were able to overpower people. They went to India, they went to Asia. They did it all over the whole world. Yes. You know, and this elite group of people, their family bloodline, they still run the world. And now they are making lots of money. And so you're talking, you know, the Carnegies that own the whole energy block. And if they want to turn up our power right now, they can do it. You know, you're talking about the Rothschilds that own all 6 media outlets. And while you got MSNBC fighting with Fox, they're connected to the same puppet strings. It's the same puppet master. Like we need to, like, really, all of us collectively wake up to who is controlling politics, who is the Bilderberg group that meet every year to discuss what's going to happen. You know, who are these elite people at the top? You know, Bezos, now he's a trillionaire after Corona, right? Who are these people that are making all this money right now? And here we are, you know, the 99% left, while they have all the wealth and resources and technology. There's more of us than them. So the idea of a collective human race of people who want a happy, productive life on Earth and don't want to be controlled by an elite that might be taking advantage of us. So there's been systemic racism. It's been programmed. It's purposeful to divide us. See, you want to divide people, Republican, Democrat, Black, white. You want us fighting, because then we can't come together and overthrow the corruption. That starts from the top. It's definitely very corrupt at the top. And you guys on the front lines in the battlefields that are going up there, and I know you see corruption. That's when you talk about people being on, you know, judges that, you know, they're racist and you know that they're not, they shouldn't be there, and these types of things. Corruption is in high places. So I think it, you know, the answer does go back to our hearts and getting our hearts right, but just hoping everybody can wake up to what's been programmed.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, it's like it's the deep state. Like, you got to know who's pulling the strings up there. Everything is orchestrated. We have 2 more questions. One is coming from Diana. She said, could someone speak on behalf of Dr. Jennifer Cantu, please? Thank you, Robin. This is what it will take to help bring about change. And that's open to the panel. Anyone can speak on Dr. Jennifer Cantu?
I would like to.
I can't speak on it. I just, for the record, I can't speak on it because I'm a judicial candidate and that would be considered an endorsement. And so I can't say anything about another person who's running for office.
Carmen has a really good relationship with Jennifer. Carmen, did you hear the question?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I think I like Jennifer Cantu because it's one thing about her. When she believes in something, she sticks by it. And I feel if Jennifer Cantu is in office, she's going to do the best thing for the people and not be persuaded one way or the other. So many times we get people in office and the only thing they do is they go along with the program to be with the program. Jennifer Cantu is not that person. She's going to speak up for the people and she's going to take care. She's going to do things the right way and not the wrong way. In fact, that is one of the reasons why I'm running for office. Just like Khalees said earlier, when I first got ready to run for office, I seen how a lot of politicians do things for the better of their pockets. I'm not in here for the better, for my pockets. I'm in here to make sure the people are taken care of. And when I see Jennifer Cantu, that's the kind of person I see. Somebody's going to take care of the people and look out for the people. And that's who we need in our office. Somebody that's going to be equal to the whole collective people. And so on Commissioner Court, I think she'll be great.
Thank you for that. The last question is, I don't know who this one is, but it says, I'm curious about the bias within our culture of dark skin versus light skin, and does this also have an impact on us as a community? To the panelists, Kali, would you like to?
It definitely does. This is a whole different, a separate Zoom. We need another fresh hour.
Yeah. Yes.
We need a whole new hour to start. But I mean, it does, and there's definitely colorism within the Black community, and I feel like this is just another, ramification of, we can trace this all the way back to slavery. When the fairer skinned slaves were allowed to be in the house, doing domestic duties, and the darker ones had to be out in the field. You can trace this to, when people were marrying, making sure they married light. For those who have never heard of the paper bag test, back in the day, young girls were taught, you don't marry anybody darker than a paper bag, so that your kids won't be dark and so that your kids could be light, and you can kind of filter out that Blackness and have these generation after generation have lighter, fairer skin, more European features, softer, curlier textured hair. I mean, we can trace this all the way back as far back as when people first came over here from Africa, and it's definitely still prevalent today. That's something that we also have to address. And like I said, I have 3 daughters, and my husband is darker skinned, I'm lighter skinned. That doesn't matter to me, I don't, whatever. But when my first set of kids were twins, and I can remember just being pregnant, and Black people, instead of just saying, oh, congratulations, twins, how exciting, it was always like, oh, I bet one is going to be dark and one is going to be light. And it's like an obsession with what color they were going to be. I mean, but I knew that was going to happen. But again, it starts with shutting it down. Listen, you want to see me slightly come out of character, make a comment about the color of my daughter's skin, make a comment about their hair texture. We don't do that around here. I don't play that. I don't tolerate it. Everybody is beautiful. This is how God made you. I don't let people comment around them. Don't come around my kids saying, oh, this one is light and this one is dark, or this one has long hair and this one has, I'll shut it down. I'll shut you down. I'll tell you about yourself. And that's kind of how the attitude that we all have to take. It starts with nipping it in the bud. And that's what I talked about earlier. When you start nipping stuff like that in the bud, people will stop saying it around you. People know better than to come around me or my kids making comments about anybody's skin color, anybody. They know better. They know better. So I don't experience that anymore, but that's what it takes. And it's really unfortunate. I raised my daughters to believe that they are beautiful. Their hair is beautiful. Your hair looks just like mommy's. This is how God made us. Unfortunately, not everybody is doing that. But again, it starts at home. It really does start at home. And I'm aware that it is certainly a real issue amongst our community. I don't know how we combat that as a people. I think this is going to take a life, generation after generation. It's a journey. I'll put it that way. This is going to be a journey.
And I also have one thing to add to close out and bring Deborah on. The N-word. We say it like it's nothing. You know, it's like part of our culture now, which I'm totally against it. The rappers say it, so it gives everyone around the world permission to say it. So how can we start in the community and reach out to celebrities saying, hey, stop using the N-word. It's negative. You know the impact that it has on our culture. So why do you continue to say it? Why can't you say king or bro, or, you know, put another word in place of the N-word? So how can we start that campaign?
But I have a question. Who gave them permission? Just because you hear it in a song does not give you permission to use it. I mean, we couldn't use it in my house, right? So my mom didn't allow us to use it. We were talking about skin color. I'm the darkest of 6 sisters. So imagine growing up and being the absolute darkest of 6 sisters. And the first thing I would get is, oh, she's cute for a little black girl, because I didn't look like any of my sisters. And that stayed with me probably until I was like mid-20s. Because, I mean, even today, and I say I don't do it as much today, but you should see how I was adjusting this light just so that I wouldn't look so dark on the Zooms. And I do this daily, like in all of my meetings. I'm like, okay, don't look too dark, because you know, the darker you look, the more aggressive they think you are. So don't look too dark. And so I adjust, I put a light up under me or a light on top so that my brown tones will be lightened up, just so I don't look aggressive. So again, that was just to piggyback off what she said. But I think the N-word is, I don't let my kids say it. If it's in a song, we don't really, hey, skip that word, because, you know, I got an issue with it. But I do have cousins and uncles who will be like, hey, what's up, Ma? And I'll be like, hey, don't say that to my kids, because it's inappropriate. I don't want them to say it. I don't want them to think it's okay. And again, I've watched TikTok, and I've seen young white boys saying, hey, F my, and I'm like, who gave you permission to do that? Just because you hear it doesn't give you permission to do it. And I think our parents told us that. Just because you monkey see, monkey don't do. If she jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? So we didn't do that. And I think that if you hear it, same thing Callie keeps saying, nip it in the bud. It is not something I want to hear you say come out your mouth. Hey, you can't say that around me, especially people of a different culture. You can't, I don't care where you're from, Mexico, Latin, Latinx, you cannot say that word. Oh, we kind of like this. No, we nowhere near the same. You see the application that says African American, not of Hispanic origin. I never understood that part of the application. Like, what does that actually mean? And so I just tell them all, you cannot say that word, and it's just nipping it in the bud. When you hear it, you stop it. Sorry, can't say that with me. You know, I think it's going to take a lot of us to say it. It's going to take.
Yeah. But people also have to stop buying the music. I mean, if there's artists and this is what they're talking about, you know, I mean.
But they got it clean. They have it clean. So you can buy the song and it just doesn't have the word in it. They're out of it. You don't have to hear the word. So they have the explicit version and they have the clean. It's just about buying the clean music and introducing cleaner music to your family and your kids and your friends. And when you listen to the radio, you don't hear it.
Yeah.
But it's not on the radio because they have to do the clean. You know, it's mainstream, but when you're with your friends, hanging out, you at a club, they're playing it. So it's like we're kind of giving people permission to say it. Who taught you not to say it, right? So if nobody taught you not to say it, you're going to say it and think it's okay because you have Black friends. You know, so it's just like, where do we start that conversation?
You have to be the type of person who they're not comfortable doing and saying certain things around. I have an aunt who, you know, she never allowed any, we couldn't even watch TV at her house growing up. It was miserable. She wouldn't even let us watch anything. You couldn't listen to the radio. But, you know, when she comes around to this day, you know, I have uncles who are in their 60s and they're still sneaking and hiding their drinks around her. That's their sister, because they don't want to drink around her because they know she's going to have something to say. She's just that type of person. But people know, people are not comfortable doing certain things around her because we know she doesn't like it. And so you have to be the kind of person that people are not comfortable being racist around. People are not comfortable saying the N-word around. People are not comfortable gossiping around. You have to be that type of person to deflect that type of stuff. And trust me, if you express yourself that you don't like it, I don't want to hear it, people will stop bringing it to you. And so it just, again, you know, we all have a responsibility in this. And it's literally going to take all of us, you know, playing several different positions to really affect change. I think we can do it. I think we're off to a great start, but we all have to be responsible for it.
And go back to the when you couldn't say lie. Like when I was little, I couldn't say lie. Like
I couldn't say that either.
Oh my God.
And my kids can't say it either. Just because that's how I was raised.
You couldn't say but. You couldn't, I mean, there are certain words you just couldn't say. And then if you said them, you were in trouble. There was not, you couldn't say, oh, I had friends that could say dang, D-A-N-G.
No substitute curse words either.
Okay, so there's certain things you just teach your kids you cannot say. Right. And again, it's going to take time, because everything's going to take time. Even the changing of the racism is going to take time. The changing of educating white people that you have privilege. Let me show you how not to use that privilege. Guess what? There's a line. Yeah, I know I'm in line and I know that I can go ahead of her, but it's okay. I like this thing that they're doing now where white celebrities are giving Black women their profile, and they're letting all of their millions of users see these new Black women who are doing amazing things, nonprofit-wise, business-wise. Kim Kardashian gave up a whole platform to a new designer just so she can have her stuff. So I like that, right? And it's a small token in a big old ocean, but it's just going to take stuff like that to kind of get us past a number of things. It's going to take time.
It's going to take time, and we just have to keep pushing and keep moving and make sure we see that change. So thank all the panelists, all the guests that were on our sip and chat. We're definitely going to have another one on this topic as well. Looking forward to it, but I'm going to turn it over to Deborah.
Yes, I'm just here to say thank you so very much. It was very nice on this sip and chat to listen. And I think so often that's what we don't do. We just talk about ourselves or our dog or whatever's going on, but we don't listen. So that's what we did today. And we heard from some very powerful women in our community here in Houston. And you know, we're global, we're worldwide, and we're here to listen and we're here to help. That's what we do. So I want to say, you know, thank you to our members who are on here. Steve Akoraha, I see you, brother. He's like the brother I never had. And then we have, and Steve is our president. We've got Kirby on. She's our fantastic marketing director. Ty Jones, communication director. We have Miss Carmen Turner on. She is our newest member, so we're just ecstatic about that. And we have a lot of people on. We've got RJ Baptiste. He is our founder. Dr. Baptiste, of course, she is our international woman of mystery and education and our business director, and just kind of the one who keeps us all going. So thank you, everybody. I just want to say thank you. We have these bi-weekly, and the conversation is going to continue. And so this is our anti-discrimination series that we're having here. And there's just so much to talk about and to learn. So again, oh, and Ian Overton, he's our member also. He's on here. Hi, darling. I saw you get in there at the end, and I'm just glad to see your face, and I hope y'all are doing okay. And we have Mylan Trin. She is also our member, and she's fantastic, and she's got really neat international opportunities in real estate. So I'm going to turn it over to Kirby. She's going to talk to us a little bit about how y'all can get involved with us. And this is the last time I'm going to say thank you to y'all.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you, Deborah. So, okay, I got like so many announcements it's not like a lot, but I'm about to announce it starting from the beginning. Thank you guys so much for coming here. It was like an amazing chat. I'm not going to get into it deeply, but if you want to follow the Sip and Chat community, guys. It's on Facebook. It's called Sip and Chat Community. I'm going to type that in the chat. Sip and Chat Community on Facebook. Also, too, make sure you're following. Make sure that you enjoyed this chat. Also, check out the American Caribbean Chamber of Commerce website. It's so much stuff going on. And also, too, like we have awesome memberships. So make sure you check out the website. I'm gonna put that in the chat. So yeah, just check it out. Also as well, I'm like all over the place right now. Sorry about that, guys. Also too, on Facebook, follow American Caribbean Chamber of Commerce Facebook. It's the one with the 45 members. That's a heads up. It has 45 members in it right now. So make sure you're following that one. There's like 2 of them right now, but it's the one with the 45 members. Make sure you follow that one. So it's called, type in Facebook, American Caribbean Chamber of Commerce. It's the one with the 45 members. So make sure you're following that one. I'm going to post it in here in this chat as well. And also, too, we're having an event this Saturday. We're giving out masks, we're giving out food, we're giving out gloves, we're even giving out toothpaste, we're even giving out toothbrushes and some more stuff. I'm not going to go into deeply in the bag. It's a surprise bag. But we will be sending out some more information, which I'll leave that to Deborah. But yeah, we're going to be having an event this Saturday. And, you know, if you're following the chamber and everything, we'll send you the deets. So, and also too, we will be posting it on the Facebook page. It's the one with the 45 members, the least members. So follow that page. Yeah, and we will send you the deets. And yeah, it's like a lot of information, but yeah, yeah. But thank you guys so much.
And the food drive, I want to say, is with Khalid Morgan, Ms. Carmen Turner. We've got Mayor Ford, and we have Ms. Beverly Walker, along with Dr. Jennifer Cantu, Bridget Lawson-Smith, Joey Cardenas, and Eric Fagan. So those are some fantastic candidates, as we know, our ladies this evening. And we look forward to seeing y'all. If you can help or volunteer for that, you want to, you know, give some time back to the community, cool beans, let me know. I will be emailing y'all all the flyer. And if you want to share it with people who can use that assistance at this time, that's what we're here to do. And it will be in Fort Bend County. Thank y'all so much. I'm going to close.
Thanks, everyone.
It's been a real and true pleasure.